Right now, from a tornado to snow, it's been a wild week of weather, and there could be more to come. Stay tuned for that. Plus, we're going to learn more about that fiery Delta plane crash from a former flight attendant who gives us her take of what went right and what could have gone wrong. Plus, the continued push for more Black-owned businesses. This is The Take. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines to look at how and why stories are impacting you and your community. Today, we're going to start with a weather impact alert. It's cold on the outside, if you haven't felt it already. We have a weather impact alert from now through Friday morning. We're going to see some of the coldest temperatures in February since 2016, right? You're going to need to bundle up. That's what you're going to need to do. Protect yourself, your family, and your pets, as well as that cold air will stick around right on through Friday morning. We'll start to see it modify a bit as we head through the weekend and into next week. Boy, it's been impactful this week as far as the weather goes. We want to talk more about this. Joining us now is meteorologist Keith Stillman. He's who we call the MIC, the meteorologist in charge at Peachtree City, my friend, colleague. How you doing this morning, Keith?
Doing good, Chesley. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Let's get right into it, man. You know, February, right? Is it really unusual to see this kind of wild weather in February? We started out with this tornado earlier in the week, and we had the snow, and now we're going to see temperatures heat up close to 70 as we head into next week. Is February usually like this?
It can be. It can be in January. It can be February. We're in that transition, starting that transition season between the winter and the spring, and you get the battle between the warm and the cold. And we seem to be in the middle of it right now.
We saw a tornado in some spots of the area, but a lot of wind damage in other spots. You guys got a chance to go out and survey. Talk to us about that. What goes into that?
I did. So I actually surveyed the Butts County tornado. Basically, we go out and assess the damage that occurred. And we may go in and look at some areas as well that had wind damage. But in this case, we went to an area that was suspect for a tornado. And the goal of that is to find where the tornado first touched down, where it lifted up, and then identify some of the worst of the damage so that we can rate the wind speeds from the damage that we see on the ground.
That Butts County tornado, what was the rating on that?
We ended up with a high-end EF1 out of that tornado.
Is that normal for this time of year?
It can be. If you recall, back in January 23, we ended up with an EF3 tornado. It was during a very warm period, and just like this one, we were coming a warm period with a strong cold front rolling through, and during this time of year we end up with a lot more wind shear, and that's what drives these tornadoes with the change of the season.
Lastly, Keith, I have to ask you, got to look into your crystal ball, as they call it. They think we have crystal balls, but look into yours and tell us what's coming down the pike.
So I don't know if you look outside right now, we've got a few snow flurries in the Northwest Metro, so we'll be dealing with the cold and a little bit of snow the next few days, and then we're going to bounce right back and get back on the warm side of things next week. Probably will be that way through the early part of March before we start transitioning into more spring-like weather. Yeah,
and that would bring on more of a severe weather season for us, right?
Yeah, we're hopeful that that isn't the case, but the way things are trending is that we may end up with a more active spring than usual.
All right, we're going to gear up and get ready for it. Of course, we'll be calling on you for more answers to our questions. Keith Stillman, the MIC at the Peachtree Center office down in Peachtree, which works North Atlanta and Metro as well. Thanks a lot, Keith, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Chesley.
This week's crash of a Delta airline plane on a Toronto runway is still a shock to many. Look at this dramatic video right here where the plane originated from Minneapolis and burst into flames and flipped upside down as it tried to land. Miraculously, all 80 people on board survived that crash there. This was in part due to the accomplishment of the attendants that were on board, the flight crew. The Delta CEO said the flight crew on board this regional jet was experienced. Glad they were, right? Let's bring in our experienced former flight attendant, Danielle Moss, who is now a meteorologist here at 11Alive, my colleague, and she was a flight attendant. And that's impressive, number one. My first question to you is, when you saw this video, what was your first response to that?
You said one word, miraculous.
Yeah.
All 80 people survived that crash.
Right.
And that's crazy to think about. When you see flames, you see a plane upside down, it is dramatic, and you just watch it on replay like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this, but I'm so happy that all 80 of those people survived.
Are you trained for this? When you went for your training, do they train you to prepare for a situation like this?
Yes, they do. Any kind of situation. Because anything can happen in the air. And that's what people don't really think about, is that there could be medical emergencies, there could be an attacker, there could be.
And you train for that too?
Yes.
Wow.
Self-defense. They teach you self-defense classes, CPR classes. They take you through every single thing that could possibly happen and what you need to do to make sure everyone on board is safe.
So walk me through it. You're on a plane and it happens to crash. Now you're still alive, obviously. What's the first thing you need to do?
Get the people off. Get the people off. That is your main concern. You look at yourself, I can walk, I got to get you guys out of here. We are in special jump seats, so it's not just the normal seat belt. You have a harness over your arms and over your lap as well, so that's supposed to hold you into your seat a little bit better. But when you think about that plane that flipped over, those people had to be in a great panic to open their eyes and see, oh my goodness, we are upside down. And you have to get off the plane in a fast fashion, just in case there's more explosions. You know, there's engines, there's gas, jet fuel. You have to make sure that you are getting off safely.
You are now a meteorologist.
Yes.
Right? We were looking at this. We do know that was 40-mile-per-hour winds. Do you think, using your expertise, do you think that the wind may have had a role in this or something? Or what's your assessment of it?
So I used to fly on regional jets of that size, that exact same plane, and I've flown into Toronto many times. A lot of times in the winter, yes, the wind does play into the landing. And you can hear, when you're in the front, in that front flight attendant seat, you can hear the plane, and it'll tell the pilots, pull up, pull up. Pull up when there's wind shear. So that lets you know that that was not happening because the pilots weren't trying to, lift it. So I don't think that it was a great enough wind for it to trigger an alert, but there could have been, really strong winds as they were landing.
Wow.
And when they lost that wing, that's what kind of caused the flip over effect.
Jeez.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, and it's still amazing to me. I mean, and it's really the safest way to travel. And I guess you have no fear of that. You get right back on a plane.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I am definitely comfortable on a plane. Probably too comfortable. I'm asleep before we even taxi back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. That was on land.
Yes.
If this was on water, would it be a different situation or scenario?
I think it could have been. I think it could definitely be. When flight attendants tell you to leave your things, behind, a lot of people have a problem with that. They struggle with, I gotta grab my baby bag, I gotta grab my work bag, my work laptop is in here.
Yeah.
You have to leave that behind. All that stuff can stay and be replaced. The thing about it is you have to get off and all of the people behind you as well. So on water, that definitely could have been a different situation. I think about the Sully flight that happened years ago, and those people were able to get out, but that was chaos. They taught us about that in training, about how the flight attendants were injured in that. One of them had their leg severely broken. So there's a lot of things can happen because people panic, and you would panic in a situation like that, and you don't know how people would respond in an emergency.
Meteorologist Danielle Moss. Ladies and gentlemen, the meteorologist.
Yes.
Black belt. She has one on. Can help me out with my health. I feel safer around here at 11Alive knowing that you have all this training.
I think that because I went through flight attendant training, it helps me be calm during severe weather.
Ooh.
Because they teach you how to be calm. They teach you how to have that, take a pace, take a breath, and focus on getting out.
I'm following Danielle Moss. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back. Today, we're learning more about who could be next on the chopping block as President Donald Trump continues to make big changes to the federal government. Joining us now to talk more about it is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who has been covering politics for years now. Alice, sounds like some of the top military brass could be receiving some pink slips.
Yeah, good morning, Chesley. That is the latest word because the Defense Department is now the latest target of the Department of Government Efficiency. And NBC News has learned that there are members of DOGE staffers, of course, that group that's headed up by Elon Musk, that are now at the Pentagon and have started looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, things that President Trump said he was going to direct them to do there. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered $50 billion in cuts to then redirect to President Trump's priorities. And NBC News has learned that among those cuts, according to 5 sources, Secretary Hegseth is considering firing some generals and other senior officers who have close ties to former Biden Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin or who have worked on programs that might be seen as out of step with the Trump agenda, including some DEI initiatives and things President Trump has been clear he wants to steer away from.
Well, the Trump administration is calling this shakeup promise made, promise kept, and said it is rooted in fraud. Are we seeing any evidence of this?
Yeah, there have been more efforts from both President Trump and from the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, to kind of the president has read off various programs that he describes as fraud. He's done this sort of at the podium a couple of times, but he's really just listing the programs, and he hasn't said in what way they are actually constituting fraud, in what way they are fraudulent, as opposed to maybe waste, things that he doesn't think the government should be spending money on. And then on Monday, DOJ released receipts that represent a fraction of the billions of dollars, $55 billion in savings they say they have achieved. And the list included some noticeable errors. One line item claims $8 billion in savings found in a Homeland Security contract, but the contract was actually for $8 million. And Elon Musk has acknowledged that his team will make mistakes, and he says we'll correct them quickly.
But they still have the green light to do this, right?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Flashing green light.
Well, there's been another setback for the president, this time over at the end of the constitutional right for citizenship for people born here in the United States. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, this is one of the first executive orders that President Trump signed, and it was an effort to end birthright citizenship, an automatic citizenship for anybody who is born in this country. He doesn't want that to apply to children born to parents of undocumented migrants. So he signed an executive order that was very quickly challenged. And what we've had now is a 3-judge panel of U.S. Court of Appeals declined the Justice Department's request to immediately reinstate that change, that executive order that would limit birthright citizenship. So that's been blocked for now, and that means that this is likely on track for an emergency application and a fight at the U.S. Supreme Court. Chesley.
Wow, this continues to go on and on and on. All right, well, Alice, you always keep us abreast of everything that's going on. Really appreciate you being on. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Thanks.
All right. All right, Atlanta has been a hub for African-American entrepreneurs, but has seen a resurgence in recent years. A Lending Tree survey shows that more than 11% of businesses here in Atlanta are Black-owned, but the national average sits only at 3.3%. This weekend, an event at the Georgia World Congress Center looks into the showcasing businesses which are Black-owned. Joining us now is Corey Moore. He is the executive producer of the Atlanta Black Expo. Corey, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate being here.
Hey, now I don't know if this surprises you. Obviously, you're in it. 3.3% seems mighty low to me for a national average. What do you think about when you hear that?
I believe that the number is higher, but a lot of these businesses don't know how to get the exposure. A lot of these businesses don't know how to be spotlighted, to be seen. So with that, they're in the shadows, and if they're not being accounted for, then they're not getting the resources that they need.
What makes Atlanta that hub? What makes businesses want to come here, and what makes them flourish here in Atlanta?
You know, there's so much opportunity here. You know, I'm from Colorado. So when I think about Atlanta, where there's so much diversity here, there's a large population. The cost of living is lower than other cities, maybe like a Chicago, a DC, a New York. Just so much opportunity that if you have a business, if you have something that you're selling, you definitely can make it.
So what's where you are in Colorado and here in Atlanta, what's the difference there? Since you're from Colorado, what's the difference that you see there?
Really the diversity. Again, being in Atlanta, which is almost 50% Black, whereas in Colorado it's about 7%. Very big difference, very big difference. And that actually, goes into when you have a product to sell, if you're selling to, people that look like you, that can associate like you typically have sometimes, a little bit more success when it comes to that. So again, it's just a great environment here to be able to thrive.
Will the expo address that, like in places where you are, places that don't have a whole lot of African Americans, will it address that and how to help that business flourish and get out?
Yes, definitely. So our goal is the Atlanta Black Expo is similar to what we call the Black Business Super Bowl. So when you think about the Super Bowl, there's 2 teams that play. But when you think about how many teams came out to support it, all of them, right? And they're celebrating the NFL. Well, this is a celebration of these Black businesses. So what's going to end up happening is now everybody can actually participate and not only just get the shine that they need, but really get the resources that they're looking for, get the support that they're looking for, and actually be able to do business with each other.
What are some of those resources that are missing? Can you tell us about that?
So definitely education.
Okay.
Definitely education. When it comes to the ways of what to do in your business, what not to do in your business, how to do it this way to either save time, save money, which all increases your bottom line. that's important information for any business to know, but definitely when it comes to Black businesses, because typically as a mass, we're lacking in resources, we're lacking in money. So we have to figure out a way to actually get the same thing done, but on, let's call it that shoestring budget. So the more information that you can actually learn, the more people that you can actually connect with, that you can actually leverage those relationships with, again, to get the knowledge, to get the help, get the support, whatever the case is, it can actually help increase the success of your business.
What else can we expect if we come out to the expo this weekend?
So what I love about this event is that Atlanta has 4 Black Expos, but this is the only expo that is non-industry specific. So what that means is you can actually come in and you'll be able to see someone who has hair care products, but you'll also be able to see somebody who's probably a painter. You'll be able to see somebody who does lawn care. You'll see somebody who's an accountant. You'll see somebody who bakes cakes. You'll see there's just a wide variety of people here. So for Atlanteans that not only just want to do business with Black businesses during February, but they want to actually incorporate them into their life, you'll actually see all different types of business so that you can be able to do that. At the event, we have several different activations where we're going to have an art gallery at the event. We have a fashion show at the event. We have 5 stages of speakers going on simultaneously. We have an international networking to where if you want to start doing business internationally, you have the opportunity to do that. We have a speed networking activation that's happening at the event, which everybody loves, speed networking. So just so much to do at the Atlanta Black Expo.
Sounds like fun. Corey, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you joining us. Hope you have much success.
Thank you for having me.
All right. If you want to go to the Atlanta Black Expo, there will be a kickoff event Saturday night from 6 to 10. The expo itself is on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Georgia World Congress Center in downtown Atlanta. Plenty more stories to come. Don't go anywhere. This is The Take on 11Alive Plus. The 40-day legislative calendar continues to grind under the Gold Dome. 2 weeks from today, the bills that survive in one chamber will cross over and go into another round of debate in another chamber. Our good friend Zach Merchant, co-host of the Georgia Vote and a member of the 11Alive political team, joins us now. Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Chesley, good morning. Always fun to be on The Take with you.
All right. Walk us through what will take place. What do you think as far as the bills that are out there now that will actually go through?
Well, there's a big universe of cases and really of bills that you've got to keep an eye on here, but probably the top priority and the biggest talker right now is Governor Brian Kemp's top priority. It's so-called tort reform, and we are taking a close look at it this week on the Georgia Vote. It's a top Governor Kemp priority. He's even hinted that he is not afraid to call a special session specifically for the issue if it does not get passed during the regular session, which we are just about coming up to the midpoint of right now.
So what is tort reform about? Tell us about that.
Well, there are probably some better attorneys out there who can explain this better than I can, but I will do my best to simplify it here. In its most simple form, proponents pushing for tort reform, they want to limit the amount people can recover from some types of lawsuits. Backers of the proposal, they argue that juries in Georgia have awarded excessively high verdicts, and they claim in turn that that has led to increased insurance premiums, and they say that these limits would undo that. But the other side, the opponents, they dispute that, and they say that the new limits, if passed, would prevent people who are legitimately injured from recovering all that they are owed in court. So State Senate President Pro Tem John Kennedy, he's a Republican. He made the case in support of tort reform in an interview with Faith Jesse that will air this Sunday on the Georgia Vote. We're also talking to Democratic State Senator Josh McLaurin, who has been an outspoken critic of the proposal, and you can see both perspectives this Sunday.
Okay. All right. So not just state news, but Georgia's making also national political news as well, right?
Very much so, and that's been a theme not only of the first sort of month of the Trump administration, but also of the last year and a half plus of his 2024 presidential campaign. Georgia has been a cornerstone of President Trump's view on national politics, and we're seeing that play out now. Here's the latest. Former Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler, she was officially confirmed by the Senate yesterday to lead the Small Business Administration. She is just the latest Georgian to be confirmed to the Trump administration. Former Georgia Republican Congressman Doug Collins, he was confirmed earlier this month to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there's a lot of Georgia ties and high-profile positions in this newly coming together Trump administration.
Was there ever a time when her being a part of this was any question?
Well, you know, the political rumor mill, it loves to spin up and get spinning pretty fast. There was a moment over the summer when there were rumors that she was eyeing another run for elected office herself, and that's not uncommon in the midst of a campaign cycle like that. We talked to her about that in an interview last year, a one-on-one interview on the Georgia vote, and she really wouldn't say one way or another. She definitely would not rule out another run for office, but at least for now, though, she's going to have her hands full just running the SBA. That doesn't mean she won't be looking at something maybe down the line. During the campaign, we should note as well, she became a very active backer of President Trump's 2024 campaign, doing fundraising and doing a lot of get out the vote efforts as well.
All right. What else should we be watching for this Sunday?
Well, look, as always, you can't have the Georgia vote without Georgia voters. And this week's Voice of the Voter is the owner of a hemp business who has, as you can imagine, an interesting perspective on state politics. Also in the show, hear from Democratic Congressman Hank Johnson. As always, Georgia politics, there's a lot going on. There will be a lot in this show on Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Zach, thanks for coming on, man. You're always welcome, okay?
We appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot. You can join Zach and Faith Jesse Sunday morning for the Georgia vote. You can watch it at 11 a.m. right here on 11Alive Plus. We're back with something to think about. You're watching The Take. Well, we kick off the show talking about how cold it is on the outside. We have an 11Alive weather impact alert for today and tomorrow morning. We're going to see temperatures down around 20 degrees. There probably will be some teens out there as well, folks, along with that wind, making it feel a lot colder. So you definitely need to bundle yourself up, bundle the kids up, bring the pets inside. Make sure you do it, folks. A cold advisory will kick in tonight at 10 o'clock and will last until 10 a.m. on Friday morning. Friday afternoon, we'll have the sunshine around. 46 will be the high. We'll get those temperatures warming up a bit as we head through the upcoming weekend, and then into the 60s as we head into next week. In fact, approaching the 70-degree mark by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. That'll be nice. Thursday, I think, brings in a little bit more precipitation, but with temperatures that warm, I think it will be on the liquid side and not the snowy side, which is good. All right, before we go, I want to give my final take. You know, I want to give Delta Airlines a round of applause. Not sure if you heard this or not, but Delta Airlines has offered each passenger on that plane that crashed in Toronto $30,000. $30,000. Now, if all 76 passengers were to take that offer, Delta would fork over about $2.2 million. Yeah. Not sure if that would be enough to calm my anxiety, my flight anxiety, but here's a couple suggestions, Delta. You know, I think maybe free flights for the rest of your life sounds a bit good. Or maybe how about some stock in the company? That may be a little bit better. Just not sure, folks, that $30,000 would fly. You know what I mean? Wow. If you're on a plane which crashes, flames, it flips over, you probably never want to fly again. Delta would go a long way to calm people's anxiety, make them back on those planes if you offer just a little bit more. You know, they said it's no rights to it or anything like that, and they still are able to lawyer up if they want to, but $30,000? I just don't know. Well, we need a moment of zen, folks. Here it is. Have a great day.